You're listening to 8 Up, the podcast.
The fucking Star Wars Extravaganza.
Everybody out in Podland, this is 8 Up the podcast.
Number 2.
Yeah,
we made it to a second one, Tom. They let us come back. Can you believe that?
It's amazing. It's a miracle.
It is a miracle. A true Christmas miracle.
So I'm Tom, and I'm joined with Jeff.
I'm Jeff, and we have a new kind of co-host, Kikii. She's joining us. Hi, Kikii.
Hey, y'all. How's it going?
So today we're going to be talking about all things Star fucking Wars.
Yay!
We got, tell us about our guest, Tom.
Okay, well, we got a hold of somebody from the Indy Lightsaber Academy. His name's Doug, and he's joining us. He's going to tell us a little bit about his organization, and he brought a couple of his lightsabers with him. That is totally cool, and he's going to stick around and talk about the movie a little bit. So thanks for joining us, Doug.
Pleasure to be here.
And we've also got Jason Banbury.
Hello.
He is in a local band called the Yavin 4, right, who's a bunch of nerds that play Star Wars theme songs. So we got him in the studio with us. We're going to rock out to some Star Wars music.
Sorry about your luck. Don't mind the mess.
So how's it been going, Tom?
Oh, it's been going great. Sorry you had to see me kind of messed up on Thanksgiving. I just woke up hungover. You
were drunk as fuck. You were so drunk you didn't even know what you were doing. You were like had a half-eaten piece of pumpkin pie on your chest on the couch, passed out, man. That was classic.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's too hard to nail. Oh my God.
But it was good stuff.
Did you get blackmail photos?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. They always do.
So before we go any further, I'm going to give a shout out to a new sponsor of the podcast, Overton Vinyl.
Woohoo! Yeah,
they got the
nice.
Deep shit. I mean, you can find all kinds of records at Overton Vinyl. So in the Book Mama's bookstore on Washington and Ritter Street, kind of. I don't know the exact address, but just, you can go on Facebook or just Google, your best friend Google, Overton Vinyl. If you want to buy a record for somebody for Christmas, go there and fucking buy it, because they will have that specific record that you want. James Taylor, got it. Devo, got it.
They got stuff you didn't even know.
Creator, got it. Exodus, got it. Whatever record you want, Overton Vinyl will have it.
Miley Cyrus?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Anya, even.
Oh.
Yeah, Anya.
So
that's the shout out. We're getting paid for that. Actually making money right now, Tom.
Cool, man.
So
moving up in the world, kids.
We are moving up in the world, and it's only our second podcast.
Do you get any free vinyl out of that?
Actually, from you, yes.
Oh, yeah, that I forgot to bring.
You're giving me a fucking record, Jason.
We'll have them there. The Yavin 4 Imperial Entanglements on Vital 12-inch black vinyl.
Absolutely. I can't wait. Is it special color vinyl?
Yeah, special Darth Vader black.
Awesome, man.
Well, we could have gotten color, but man, I'm so paranoid that, with the splatter, it would sound funny as it pops over the different colors, which I've heard happening before. So I just wanted plain black like I grew up with for this one.
Okay.
That was a better price anyway.
I like your Darth Vader black.
Yeah, see?
Special edition.
Dark side.
Okay, let's start off with Doug and talk about the Lightsaber Academy.
Well, there you have it. The name kind of says it all, Indy Lightsaber Academy. We've been doing it for about 3 years, believe it or not. We started off pretty small, basically just my partner and I, Michael Tucker. He's the one with all the real experience. I kind of approached him with the idea. Admittedly, there was a little bit of skepticism at the beginning, because there was nothing like this 3 years ago, which is the reason I wanted it. So,
anywhere, right?
Other states, but here in Indiana, we were the only and very first. We started off small. We were basically two dudes with one lightsaber. Now we have like golf bags full of them before. So we started out practicing in the library. I was horrible. And then we put it out there. People started to come to class, and we really have grown in odd ways over the past 3 years. We started off in Irvington, actually, at the playground. Held classes there, and we've just bumped around since then. We were at the old City Hall. Then we were at the Circle City Industrial Complex. Now we're at a local gym downtown. So we're
YMCA, right?
Yeah, so we're kind of a little bit more legit. And we teach lightsaber combat. Just like kind of the movie says, it's not going to go the way you think. So it's a little bit different. It's more of a martial art as opposed to swinging around a lightsaber in the lobby downstairs and hitting my hand. But it's definitely a discipline. And we bring together all kinds of people. It's just been a blast. We were actually part of an international tournament in Paris.
Wow.
So it has truly grown in ways that I never would have imagined, because we always figured there would at least be 2 or 3 members, myself and a few others. But, we have someone who drives up from Columbus each week.
Wow.
And
how do you say lightsaber in French?
Theirs is, I'm going to murder this. Michael and I both were probably the worst at French. Saber laser.
There you go.
So there was a little, but these things, what it is in any language. Their group is almost exactly like ours. And so there's really nothing lost in translation. So
what's the typical age range of your students, people coming in?
We encourage 10 and up. Before 10, you don't really have the motor skills. Even after 10, it can be difficult. So we probably have more adults than children. We do like birthday parties and stuff, but that's not our main gig. So mainly adults. Not all dudes. I would say half our class at any given time is female. We have, in tournaments, and it's up for grabs for anybody, whether you're a kid, or whoever. So,
how many members do you have?
Typically in a given class, we'll have at least 10 to 20, maybe 30 people. This is each week, depending on what's going on. And people keep coming back, So we're doing something right, and we teach different forms, and so there's something there for everybody. Because I think we've all wanted to swing around a lightsaber. I saw Kikii. I saw your face when you lit it up earlier.
That is by far the coolest lightsaber I've ever held. This is a serious lightsaber. You guys can't see it, but these are not plastic like toys that you find,
Yeah, that's a legit.
We're going to throw pictures up on our Facebook page so people will be able to check it out. They are pretty impressive, I gotta say.
So you were saying that you teach different forms. What's the fighting style? Like, where are you deriving your forms from, your fighting styles?
That's the part that I wasn't able to do. So I had to try and find really the only person in Indiana or this part of the country that has experience. Michael has around 10 years experience in historical European martial arts, sword-based martial arts. So each form is based off of something that actually exists, translated to the lightsaber. So, for instance, Form 1's based off of Indian tulwar and some katana and long messer, basically long swords and stuff like that. Form 2 is more fencing, Italian rapier, and then there's some spear fighting, and kind of goes on and on. There's one form that uses the cross guard. So each one's based off of real-world martial arts, except I don't know how much you know about European martial arts. Some of their sources are based off of 500-year-old texts, which I don't know how many people would get too excited about. They're kind of dry and boring.
Page turners, they are not.
Yeah, very much, very much. But Michael's really,
Yoda.
He's done a real good job of translating those into exciting lightsaber forms that align pretty closely with even hardcore fans' expectations.
So now, in the movies, are the sword play in the movie actually based on some of these same martial arts?
Some. While they have to make it stage combat, kind of movie choreography, because, just a basic sword fight, maybe as you would find it historically, wouldn't be that exciting on the screen. So I thought the most recent movie was a little bit better and cleaner. Pretty good representation with still some flash. You'll have still the spins and stuff like that, but it wasn't the prequels. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I saw you guys on Facebook, and I was like, wow, this is the coolest thing, and I shared it with some of my friends and everything, and they're like, you got to go to that and everything. So I really want to come and check it out. It just sounds cool. When I was a kid, I thought I was Luke Skywalker, and I thought the Force was real,
Yeah,
and,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
and that's our whole group. I've been swinging around sticks and swords since I was little and breaking furniture. So now I get paid to do it.
Yeah.
So, like I tell people, I am a professional.
Living a dream.
So,
Yep.
So do you get people coming and they specifically want to act out a scene from a movie?
Yes and no. We get people who, have built up in their imagination what they, holding a lightsaber their whole life, and there is a little bit of adjustment when they're told to stand a certain way and hold it, because these are weapons. You have to respect them.
Yeah.
Because you lose focus for 1 second and you get a broken knuckle back down in the lobby, like I said. So we do encourage some responsibility and safety, but we do mostly kind of sparring now, but we do a little choreography. So.
Yeah, I got to tell you guys, so what Doug's talking about down in the lobby is this is like a secure building, and I went down to let him in, and there's another dude down there, and they're battling it out. And I thought, I just saw them both, and I thought, okay, this is our two guests from the Lightsaber Academy. But it turns out the other guy was just some random dude. He just started.
He was allowed in the building, but that kind of stuff happens all the time. People do get excited. They don't realize the extent to which these things can actually hurt. Or be dangerous. I've broken plenty of lamps in my house, and just if we're not careful, these aren't toys.
Yeah.
But that's also the reason that we do it, because we try to be responsible, give people discipline, and make it skilled. So it's not just idly swinging around a lightsaber.
So how much do those lightsabers cost?
You can get a comparable lightsaber like this for about $100.
Not bad.
This one right here, because I can, is a little bit more expensive. So this might be around $300, but I absolutely love this thing.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing, the first lightsaber I got was from my wife for Christmas. It was 3 years ago, right before the group, and that's kind of what inspired me. But that one was actually stolen. So I hope that someone will bring it back to me when I'm isolated on an island. But that may not be the case.
Just don't chuck it over the cliff.
Who knows where it is now?
So did your wife fight with you?
She encourages it, but she doesn't actively participate.
Okay.
So, but my hopes is my 3-year-old daughter will soon be ready here in a little bit. So that's my dream. That's what kind of keeps me going, because for her dad being a lightsaber instructor is normal. Like, she's growing up, asked me if I'm going to go lightsaber for the day, and that's just cool. Like, I didn't grow up with my dad, being a lightsaber instructor. Like,
Right.
So it's my dream kind of come true for myself and her, but she didn't really think I'm lame yet, so that also works.
Yeah, we'll see.
Are the Black Series lightsabers, are they battle worthy?
Not really.
No.
So yeah, like the ones you'll find directly in stores, you can swing them around, but we don't encourage them to hit them together. Otherwise, really expensive toy to break.
Yeah.
But yeah, these, you kind of witnessed some of it. You can put these to hell and back, and they'll keep coming. So
I know there's an inner nerd inside of you thinking, waiting for the real, actual laser lightsaber to be invented, right? Somewhere somebody's working on this project
like
right
a
now.
real crystal.
Yeah, the real deal.
Yeah. Well, I work with some really cool stuff, and I've been thinking a lot, about how.
You got some kyber crystals lying around in the lab.
I don't know.
I might know a guy.
Here come the severed limbs.
They seem a little dangerous, though. From everything I've seen so far, just the plasma torches and I don't know, everything. There was a recent video, people explain what would happen if you actually got killed with a lightsaber. It doesn't cut, It atomizes. So it kind of melts you, which is kind of scary.
The middle part of your torso is just gone now. Sorry.
Yeah. It's the same reason we don't have flying cars yet.
Yeah.
You can't really trust us with it.
No. Oh, I would already have many limbs gone.
So there are actual scientists out there using taxpayer money to figure out what happens if you get cut by a lightsaber.
I sure as hell hope so.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Otherwise,
great.
what's the point of living?
Yeah.
So, what'd you think of the movie?
Short answer, I loved it. It's not what I expected, but it's what I think the whole Star Wars universe needed.
Okay.
That's right.
Basically, we're going to be talking about this movie today, folks. So if you haven't seen it yet, put down the podcast and back away. Otherwise, you're going to be really, really, really pissed because we're going to spoil everything.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So
It's your own damn fault if you're still
it's
listening.
your own damn fault.
Or actually doing the podcast. If you haven't seen
Yeah,
it.
Jeff hasn't seen the movie
I
yet.
haven't seen it yet.
I haven't
give a
either.
fuck.
Oh, great.
I don't
Yeah,
give a
we're-
fuck.
Well,
Well, we're going to spoil it
that's
really
your own
good.
damn fault.
Yeah.
We're going to be really descriptive.
My own damn fault. I don't care.
Ask a couple of Star Wars
Okay.
nerds to come over here and talk about the movie when you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Expect
I got
not to have it spoiled.
$2.66 tickets for next weekend. That's good enough for me. Bang dango. Thank you.
All right, you deserve to have this movie spoiled. No, I agree with you 100%. I don't think that a lot of people went into this movie expecting to see what they saw, but we were talking before we started recording, and I'm just not the kind of person who goes into a movie looking for things to be upset about. And like I said earlier, the analogy I used, if you go looking at your significant other's text messages looking for something, you'll find something to be pissed about. And I think that a lot of people, who have negative things to say about this movie kind of went into it with that attitude
Arms
of
folded.
yeah, their arms folded, just like, well, this better be good, and it's like, well, what did you want from them, like, I just don't think that anything would have made these people happy. Not to say that it was a perfect movie. There's really no such thing. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. What do you think?
Same reaction, really. You didn't know what to expect, so I was going in open completely. And I think maybe some of the upset people were because some of the scenes were so tense, like, oh no, like the feeling of doom. What are they going to do to get out of that? That maybe that feeling carried over, that sense of dread and doom. But to me, I think the humor was more of a modern cut. We think of Star Wars as like in a 1970s aesthetic, with mannerisms and speech and things like, and visuals too. But so this was a more modern Star Wars, which is going to happen. I mean, it's 30 years later today, 30 years later in their universe too. So things are going to change. So the humor was a little bit jarring because it was more modern for me. But once you get past that, okay, because it was funny, I did laugh my ass off.
Yeah.
So once you get past all that kind of thing, it really takes you to Star Wars land. Very enjoyable. I laughed, I cried.
I thought there was just the right amount of nostalgia,
Mm-hmm.
and Billie Lourd. Can we just talk about her for a second? Because, like, right out of the gate, the first thing in that movie that I remember really seeing and, like, grabbing me by the heartstrings was Billie Lourd staring up at the sky. And just her acting style. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Billie Lourd is Carrie Fisher's daughter. And she has so much of Carrie Fisher's sort of mannerisms and acting style in her that it was a little bit, I got a little choked up right out of the gate. And it's just enough nostalgia. It's not hitting. It didn't hit me over the head, with all the old tropes of the movies. And a lot of people, yes, there are so many callbacks to Empire in this movie, but also when I got home, the movie I wanted to rewatch was Return of the Jedi. I felt like there was a lot of similarities in those two films. For instance, just Luke kind of being a badass, flexing for the first time, really. Like, you see him, like, not just, like, actually physically being a badass, because we know that's what he is, throughout all the movies, but
We see it, though.
But he actually has an attitude, and it's like you don't see that except for when he walks into Jabba's place and he's just like, yeah, so, you know, you can profit by this or you can get your ass whooped. Like, he doesn't really have that kind of attitude in the other films, but in this one you see it. Like, he's ornery. Like, he's just over it, and he's not being that nice boy, you know, that hick from, you know, the Outer Rim anymore. Like, he's been around, he's seen some things, and he's not green anymore, and I really appreciated that.
You First Order better get off my lawn. Right?
Yeah, totally.
One warning.
He's totally the old man.
Now, Kiki, slow your roll, because you got to do an official review here soon, so don't, you know, cheat your load.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this is my official review. This is going to go on forever. I could talk
Okay.
about this movie all day.
Okay, good.
Which I thought that was the most clever part of the movie was basically Luke never used his saber.
Right.
In the whole movie, he never really held a lightsaber for more than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And that to me was the best part. If you would have told me before going in that's what it would be, I probably wouldn't like it. But as they presented it, I thought it was brilliant. Especially my biggest question, where's his green saber? We found out not the way we thought we would at all. Thought that was a pretty shocking part.
Okay, so explain to what the significance of the green saber.
That was the
Um,
saber.
yeah.
I mean, people out there don't know time.
Well, yeah. So in Return of the Jedi, he basically built a new saber after losing the blue one, which somehow made it to Maz Kanata. We're not really told why or kind of how, but So Return of the Jedi, he had a green saber, pretty iconic, even just because it was in one movie. But it was left out of all marketing materials. We didn't see it for the whole Force Awakens, and we saw it Last Jedi, but in a very jarring scene with Kylo Ren that didn't go the way you think. So, it's just an iconic weapon, like the proton packs with Ghostbusters and the bat suit. So
There's some lore that says
The One Ring.
right,
Yes.
the colors have a status symbol about them, like where more the beginners have the blue sabers and the masters will have the green, like Yoda had the green, you know. And they were saying that in the prequels that when he grabs that Geonosis, a green saber, it's like a foreshadowing of him being so powerful and all that stuff.
I'm a huge Samuel L. Jackson fan.
Yeah.
And he's got purple.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite color.
Because he
Same here.
literally said he wanted a purple
Yeah.
lightsaber. Like, he legitimately, it's Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson gets to pick the color
Yeah.
lightsaber he uses. Like, if he's going to be in your movie, give him what he wants. He wants purple, give him purple.
And it should have bad motherfuckers.
And that even goes within our group too. We all kind of pick colors. My color is actually yellow, as far as saber goes. We don't go off any canon, so it doesn't have really any deeper meaning than this is what we both like and distinguishes us. So, but red is also pretty damn cool.
You know, something I wonder, what's the hardest thing to learn in your group for most people that come into wanting to learn how to use a lightsaber?
Probably control safety. Just like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, don't panic. Give someone a weapon that's never swung a weapon at somebody before. When they get something thrown at them, they're going to panic. So there's a lot to be said for training and being responsible with a weapon that most people don't really get. That took me a while to realize too. So that'd be one of the things.
I can see that.
That's good stuff.
And
I'd be trying to kill people. So
Yeah. I was just thinking, if I picked up that lightsaber and wielded it any way that I used to play Wii fencing, like, I would probably break it.
Yeah, I'd break a lightsaber, I'd break somebody's head,
Yeah.
I'd break...
Smash
At least a
lamps.
couple of lamps would be gone, obliterated.
yeah, so it's weighing those expectations against each other that you've had growing up versus what it actually is like to have a weapon in your hands. And that's the hardest thing for most people is doing that, especially if you've had any experience before, because you think your first class might be just hitting you and your friends in the head.
Now, if you look at the movies, is there a specific way to hold the lightsaber?
There should be. You'll notice in the movie they're not always perfect. It's meant to look pretty. This one, The Last Jedi did a really good mix of the two. It was flashy, but yet it was real world enough. It didn't stick out because once you have a trained eye for choreography, stage combat, and all that, you can pick it out. Like the fights, Return of the Jedi is almost one of the worst because you see Luke kicking somebody. It's like 3 feet away. But as far as holding a lightsaber, your hands should be spread apart.
Okay.
So just like that, you'll see some people like go really close together, but this is the ideal way to hold a lightsaber, unless you go one-handed. But and you kind of have to approach the lightsaber too. As some people say it's weightless, or I don't know how close you get into the canon, but you have to assume they're not holding weightless weapons, so they're acting like they have some weight. So.
Yeah, I noticed that some of you guys wear gloves in some of the pictures. I'm sure
because I've had more broken knuckles, fingers, and we all have. It can get dangerous. I've about lost an eye one time, just freak accident.
Yeah.
I had this big. I looked like Rocky after Rocky 1 in the hospital. You get a lot of interesting questions after that. So at work, I was telling. Yeah, I got in a fight. So,
yeah. I got my eye poked out with a lightsaber.
it was close. It was close.
You
That
should
doesn't
do
sound
the other
nearly as
Jedi.
cool as I
I'm on
got.
heavy
Yeah.
painkillers right
I
now.
bet you were
even
tired
that-
of telling that story.
Well, even that, I've really gotten used to like. It's super normal for me to just carry around a lightsaber and just say, "Hey, I put it's on my resume." Indy Lightsaber Academy, which is crazy, but it kind of fits now. But we've kind of changed what it means to be in a group like this, because before you would probably think it's a bunch of, I'm not gonna say nerds, but a bunch of people maybe that live in their parents' basement and stuff. But
Nerds.
yeah,
Nerds.
but we come from all around. You know, yeah. So we come from all around. We have families. You know, we have. I mean, people bring their kids. You know, it's something like teenagers and their parents can bond over.
Sure.
But it's not just one type of people. I mean, we've had everybody.
Do you
So-
go visit schools or anything like that?
When possible, we do have some sister academies and stuff like that. People we built relationships with, like the French group. They're the Sports Saber League. So it's really cool interacting with them. There's other groups. Each one's kind of different though. So some will do more flashy choreography stuff. So we've kind of been more casual. Like we never dress up. We're, this is our kind of like jeans and a t-shirt type of group because.
But do you cosplay at all?
Don't have time.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a kid.
It's kind of one or the other. This is my one hobby. So.
Yeah.
And boy, is it.
I saw you guys had a tournament this last weekend. How many people?
Yeah, so the tournament is open, but it's really meant for our members because once you show a certain level of competency, in a form, you can graduate to the next form, and you just become more and more skilled. So the tournament's the time to showcase that, but also bring in other people. We had someone from a saber, school in I think it was Illinois. So it's cool to bring people together, but it's really a local thing. We're planning on having a tournament in August, another international tournament. So it was hosted in Paris last year, so we're having them over here this year.
Here in Indy?
Yes. So,
Wow.
venue's pending, but if you would like to host the tournament and you're listening, give us a message. So
how'd that work? Is it like a karate tournament? Or is it...
basically, I mean, yeah. So we have judges that are trained. One of our members.
Do you actually have rankings for?
Almost, yeah. We do a bracket style double elimination, but we have judges, each trained judges, because it's hard to decipher some of these things, these points. So one Michael's fiance, her parents are Olympic judges that come and help. So they've been a huge help. Just with making it legitimate and, putting an air of seriousness to it. So, but yeah, the tournaments are fun.
The next international tournament is in August.
Yeah, so that's the goal. So,
You don't have a
somewhere
venue?
if there's a young kid, he can find a mentor and build up, wax on, wax off. And by the time August comes, he could be the king of the world, right?
I would like to live in that world, yes. Half my life has been dictated by Karate Kid, Rocky, and Star Wars.
There you go. That's
truly.
all you need,
Yeah,
really.
Right.
in every sense of the word, those movies that shaped me growing up. So,
Yep.
I want to go to this tournament. I'm excited.
Yeah, that sounds really
You have
cool.
to keep us posted. Let us know.
yeah, my original goal was to have it at is it the Farmers Coliseum? Or it's not the Pepsi Coliseum anymore.
Farmer's Life.
Oh, I can't keep up with
No.
Yeah.
The one on the state fairgrounds, right?
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that place.
Yeah, which great plug, I guess.
Yeah.
But we want to have it at a big venue so you can spectate.
Right.
So come in and say it, because these won't be just people off the street. These would be kind of the best of the best. People that have trained just like us. So it's a little bit more exciting than watching two people that just learned.
Now, do you get a lot of people that come to watch? Or?
Yes. The tournament over in Paris had a packed house.
Really?
At most of the tournament. So that was a smaller venue, though. So my goal was just to do this. Let's do it really big.
Sure.
So we're still planning out, though. So nothing's really set in stone. But
you already have a house band lined up.
Yeah.
So
you know,
Ding.
if you would like to come,
Sure.
would be August. So
I would love to.
nice,
I'll talk the guys into it
cool.
with my Jedi powers.
Yeah.
You will play this show.
that's what we're all about here, folks, is bringing people together.
Yeah.
So speaking of the dickhead over there with the guitar, Jason and I go back probably, how long have I known you, Jason? 30 years, probably?
Something like that. I must have been 16 when I met you at
Yeah.
a party with all adults, and I was let in because I was a singer of a band, right? So you got to hang
You
out with the older
thought you were
kids.
such a little pretty boy, too.
Yeah, back in the fake ID days, right?
Oh, yeah, I hated you.
Maybe I was 17. Yeah, you were this
You were
long-haired,
pulling
scary
down
guy with a
25-year-old trim that I was trying to get. Totally unfair.
What's this kid doing here?
Yeah, what's this kid doing here picking up all my women?
Exactly. Well, yeah, should have brought a guitar. Man.
God damn it. Had your long hair and
So
you
did
thought
you.
were
So did you.
somebody, didn't you?
Your hair was longer and curlier than mine, Ben.
And then you came out with Scallywags, which I
Yeah.
actually kind of like.
That
You know,
was
I
a
like
fun
that
time.
band quite a bit. I
Thanks,
even
man.
wrote about them in Nouveau back in the day.
That was
I
my.
think I might have even said something nice
I think
about
you did. I think you did. I felt like the king of the world. Look, we're in the paper. Look, they like us.
But we're going to hold off for a minute,
Let's do that.
and then we'll be right back.
You're listening to 8 Up, the podcast.
So we're talking with the fucker Jason Bamboy,
How the fuck are you, man?
Bambeezy, Bambeezo, Bambeezabub.
All those.
He's all of those things and more. So we left off, we were talking about Scallywag.
Mm-hmm.
And what a dick you thought he was.
All right. Secretly.
And what a dick you thought he was. There was that.
Complete dick. I don't know how many times have I tried to cut you?
Quite a few times. Yeah.
It's been I think one time at Zaney's, I even actually had a knife up to your scrotum. Didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always figured it was done with love, though.
Oh.
As
Tough
long as you
love.
could play
Was
that
afraid.
goddamn Prince song and you wouldn't do it.
Then I started a Prince tribute band for Halloween.
Yeah,
right?
that's
See?
great.
Yeah.
You
Full
do
circle.
the best version of a Prince. You,
Oh, thank you.
You got some
So-
pipes. Yeah, it was impressive.
Thanks.
Good stuff.
Listened to those records quite a bit growing up, so it's kind of ingrained.
Yeah.
Played
So
Star
how
Wars with it in the
did you
background.
get into music?
How did I get into it?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I think my first exposure that, wow, this is great was the Beatles. My parents had Abbey Road and Let It Be and some Elvis records and actually a bunch of other records too. But yeah, the speakers were taller than I was, and I was just fascinated, especially with Let It Be, how they have stuff in the background between songs talking. I'd always listen and giggle at whatever that was. But then Kiss probably solidified it. I'd seen their trading cards next to the Star Wars cards that I was already getting, thinking, oh, what's this now? They're, spitting blood and fire. I thought, that's great. Why are they holding guitars? And then my aunt gave me an album, and they made, the biggest noise, and I wanted to make that noise too, so that's kind of what started it. And I started building guitars out of pieces of wood I'd find and fishing string. One day I found a real guitar body in the creek. That was a good day. I was really excited. So I nailed some trim to that and eye screws and got the fishing wire there, and I was playing it and taking it everywhere I went. And eventually, my parents felt sorry for me and got me a real guitar. My ninth
That's going to be my
Christmas.
question.
Yeah.
At what point did your parents finally just go, okay, this is a thing. Let's get him an
Let's
actual
do that.
guitar.
Yep. About a year or two after I was building them, got the Christmas, and the ninth Christmas, I got a Harmony from Murphy Mart, and history went on from there.
You still have one of the ones that you made?
I wish I did. That would be great to have. I could play it in my other band, Ninth Circle Symphony. That's like a wasteland post-apocalyptic that would look really perfect with that band, I think.
How many bands are you in right now?
Way too many. It keeps going. Like every year I do the Halloween show, And so, and those are supposed to be one-offs, right?
Right.
And just people say, hey, we love you play over here. So, okay, it's too much fun to say no. So you play. So the Prince Band from one time has probably played 30 shows now, something like that. Guns
That's
N'
how you
Roses
know it's
went
a
on.
good thing.
Yeah, hopefully. I love doing it, so, I'd like to continue that one. And most of these other, actually. This next year, I'm going to be in 3 of them. I got asked to do AC/DC, which I'm not the hugest fan. I do like the old stuff, so I'll give that a shot. I got Lenny Kravitz playing. There's another wig. And then Dave Brown from the wants me to do Rod Stewart, which will be hilarious. So I'm gonna find some checkered stripe, like some spandex for that one or something, and another wig. But I love all music, and it's fun to tackle things you haven't done before. Every genre has got some good stuff in it, so I love it.
Do you devour music the way you devour Star Wars?
I used to. I'm kind of out of the loop now. People say, hey, have you heard of this new band? I've got no clue what they're talking about. I gave up on the radio like 20 years ago or more, So my friends will turn me on to some cool stuff here and there, and I'd have to buy the whole collection.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I feel the same way. When you had Vess on last time, he said something that absolutely resonated with me. The pop today is just too perfect.
Yep.
It's too clean.
Yeah.
I've given up on the radio for that.
Yeah.
For that reason, pretty much. I mean, I still listen to the old classic stations.
Yeah.
I love classic rock. I'll never give that up. But I feel you on that.
Yeah, well, music too. It keeps growing, so there's so much you can discover in the past. Like when I was a kid, I didn't want to listen to things that were old. But you grow up and you realize that's where it's at. The 60s and 70s really had some amazing music.
Yeah.
So, and it's endless. You can go back and find the catalogs, and like binge watching TV, that streak we have, we can find a whole catalog of somebody's albums when you just discover them. You're like, oh yes, and you just devour it all.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stations is on iHeartRadio. It's KKOL out of Hawaii. It's an oldie station, so like 60s, like 50s, 60s. We haven't had one like that in Indy since I was little. I remember listening to it with my mom. So
what station? We had one.
Wendy 1260.
I can't
Oldies.
remember. We had it was like the Golden Oldies or whatever. I can't remember what even
104.5.
channel. Was it?
Yeah,
It was. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That brought back right there.
Yeah.
So
That was a good one. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been several years since that station's been around. And now, we're getting to that point where the stuff that we were listening to in our teenage and like college years is on, the classic
Oh,
rock.
yeah.
Like, what?
I
They
heard
call it first
Nirvana.
wave.
I heard Nirvana on the classic rock station the other day, and my back just immediately gave out. It was like instantaneous. I was like, okay, I'm old. Great, here we go.
Yeah, I remember when Motley Crue was classic rock, and that was my band in second grade. So I guess it should be old by now, but that was a surprise.
In second grade?
Yeah.
You
Kiss
were
and Motley
wearing
Crue.
leather pants in second grade.
Well, fake leather pants.
I hate
The kind that flaked off into your shirt and made a mess everywhere.
You're
but
probably going into parties in second grade and
Yeah.
picking up chicks there, weren't you?
I tried. I could only
Some
afford the
people-
belt with one row of spikes, though. So wasn't baller enough for 2 rows. I still have that belt, by the way.
Some people are just born rock stars, Jeff.
So how did you make the transition from playing around with music, being infatuated with music, to actually figuring out how to write songs and
Well, you
doing
learn.
all that good stuff?
you
When
le-
did you pick your first band together?
Well, see, I got my guitar at 9, and when you start, it's good to learn songs that you love, like your favorite bands. So I took, I don't know, maybe 5 lessons before we moved to the country, and there were no more lessons in like 4th grade. Where he taught me the basic chords and a few of the songs. So then once you learn, there's only 7 chords, and then the ones in between. So once you learn that, you can kind of listen and go up the neck till you find the right note and match it and figure out. Because I taught myself the rest after that just by listening to records and trying to mimicking the sounds I heard. Wow. So and that's a great way to learn. A lot of people can only sight read, but if you say, "Can you go da na na na," and they're lost. So using your ear is a more important way to learn, I think, because then you can figure pretty much anything out without being restrained to having the sheet music in front of you. I mean, it's good to know both, but
Yeah.
So that's how it goes. And then, so from learning songs I loved, I'm not sure what the
What's
first
the
song
first
I
song
wrote.
you learned?
My dad had 2 songs he knew. It was the da na 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 na. And then the blues. So I played that for like months. I got lessons. The first real song that I learned, I guess, was Kiss Lick It Up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't think the teacher wanted to teach the 10-year-old how to play 10 Seconds to Love because of subject matter, but he showed it to me anyway. So those were the first.
And what was your first band? What was they called?
We were called Excalibur. I was in 5th grade, and the rest of the guys were in high school, so I felt pretty cool about that, you know. But it was out in the country, not many people played. So, hey, this guy's got a guitar, you're in the band. And I was still singing high notes before puberty then, so that's probably why they wanted me to get the high harmony in there. But we played a Halloween show. That was a lot of fun. So it's been in my blood ever since. There was the Ritz Theater, Arlington Theater. And that was my first real concert with stage and lights and big PA and stuff.
Who was it?
That was I think that was the Scallywags, the very first version.
Really?
Yeah, I was 15,
Who did you
16.
open for?
Huh? That's a good question. It wasn't Sweet FA. They were the big dogs. So we played with like Felony and stuff like that. Remember them?
Snow White.
Yeah, all that kind of thing. We did play with the Trash Brats. They're coming through again. They got a reunion show coming up. That was kind of neat to see.
Joey Ramon's birthday party.
Yeah, at the Melody Inn.
Oh, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. How old is he now? 70?
No, oh, come
75? Something like that.
on. You leave Martin alone.
So when did you decide to put Star Wars together with music?
With music?
Were there already people doing that?
Well, there's the band that dresses up and plays the themes, metal style. But I hadn't really been aware of many until after we started this band. We've run into a couple. But how the band started, Yavin 4, was I think Benny No-Good and Travis Harmon, our bass player, were talking about putting some kind of nerd band together, and they stopped on Star Wars and put a post about it that they're starting it. And within an hour, we were already in the band because everybody in town was like, "Oh, I'm in." So and our drummer Chad posted, and he's got a whole room dedicated, and now it's a whole basement dedicated to Star Wars toys. He's got probably one of everything they've ever released. So
yeah,
he was a shoe-in.
He's also one of the best drummers in the city.
Yeah, he's amazing. He is amazing.
Because a lot of your songs, it's just, the drumming is just unbelievable. The song
3,720 to 1.
Yeah, there you go. That song, the beginning of it, is just monster drum.
Mm-hmm.
And that song, it's just unbelievable. And then when it kicks in, it kind of sounds like a Toxic Reasons kind of.
Yeah.
Like you took off of Toxic Reasons a little bit. It really.
Yeah, we got a lot of influences, man. So that's probably in there.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the references, like the Star Wars references within your songs, have there ever been any that have gone over everybody's head? Like,
there might have been. Yeah, some of the obscure characters. Like, I didn't even know who a man was. He's like this leaf-looking creature in Jabba's palace, laughing about Han Solo, and he's in there for like 3 seconds. And he's worth hundreds of dollars if you have an unopened one. So
very distinctive laugh, though.
Yeah. And even R5D4, I knew who it was from the toy, but some people, because he's not mentioned by name in the movies, so casual fans might not know some of our characters that we're singing about. And some of the references, too, like I've actually pulled from the comic book some of the Dengar stuff, because he's also only in there for 5-10 seconds. A bounty hunter with the toilet paper wrapped around his head. That kind of stuff. So I've been getting the comic books, so I got a few more lines to sing about him in there. So.
I was one of the things I was going to ask you about. How is it harder to find subject matter?
No.
Not at all.
This is the easiest subject matter band I've ever been in because it's already there, written for you. You just pick a character and go with it. I mean, half our choruses are just shouting their name, so it's not that deep. But the songs, they write themselves. Because, once you pick a direction, there's so many details from the movies that you love that you want to insert it. So I like to take pieces of dialogue, too, and twist it a little bit, make it a lyric. So it's endless. And we got new movies coming out, so it's just going to go on and on. Love it.
On and on.
Because as a musician, that's always been the hardest thing for me is to write lyrics because I feel pretentious, kind of like everybody's already said everything you want to say, and who am I to say this and that?
Yeah, I love you. You broke my heart.
Exactly. I mean, those are the easiest songs. Sure.
Yeah, love songs are real easy, but also completely played.
Yeah.
And really, you got to think about I'm gonna be saying this over and over and over again. You know, like I'm gonna have to repeat these words. Like, how many times can you say this phrase before you start to feel like a real idiot saying it?
Like Leia or Carrie Fisher saying all her lines with techno babble and that type of stuff.
Yeah, like, but in songs, like, it's just, you know, because you're repeating constantly, like, every set, you know, you're going to have that, a couple of songs that you play in every single set, so can I live with this? Can I be married to these lyrics? You know, that's always the question.
Especially if you write about a specific girl, then every girlfriend after that hates that song. You can't play that without me getting upset.
To settle an argument between my wife and I, what are your guys' thoughts on Yub Nub?
Yub Nub.
The
song?
The end song on Return of the Jedi.
I always loved it.
Should it have stayed?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm a purist. I'm kind of mad that they changed all the songs, especially in Jabba's Palace when they did that
Oh,
CGI cartoon crap
We-
over it.
Yeah, so I accidentally, when I bought the movies on Amazon, I accidentally bought the redone version.
That's all you can get right now.
No.
And
So I need to hold on to my VHS tape.
yeah,
Yes,
you
yes.
do, because and as soon as that scene started, Tony just goes, "Oh, here we go." Like, it's like great.
Ah.
No, it's a good song. Like I like Yub Nub, but I don't think it was a good bookend to Return of the Jedi. Like the song that was put in there, I thought was, you know, pretty victorious, sweeping. I don't know, but
I didn't mind the scenes from different planets, people cheering and stuff. That was okay addition.
Have you covered songs from the movie?
Well, when we first got together, we were doing the Cantina song.
Okay.
So we might, that's a lot of fun. That's a lot harder to play than you think about on guitars anyway. So
I bet.
yeah, but if we get that to sound good someday, we'll whip that out.
Yeah.
the modal tones.
Oh, I can't wait to be in the pit for that one.
Yeah, you almost need a keyboard for that song.
Yeah, some horns maybe,
Yeah.
something.
In a mosh pit.
That's all it's missing is a mosh pit.
We've incorporated details. There's a new song Benny's got that has a little bit of the Hoth scene orchestration in a little section of his. And the very first one I wrote when we were trying to figure out how we were going to do this goes... which is clearly a ripoff of the,
Yeah.
what is it, the Darth Vader march? Or
The
something
Empire
like that.
music, yeah.
Yeah.
So hints are here and there from Johnny Williams, who we love so much, and I wish I could have got tickets. They've sold out in an hour or something
Yeah.
for his concert here. One of these days.
Soon, maybe.
So have you played conventions?
Yeah, that's our core audience, really. I mean, it's a shoe-in with the Star Wars. It's like a Christian band. You don't have to be good. You just say the right words, and you get a fan base like, yeah, heck yeah. So, you know, we get a lot of the Star Wars fans. And I love it when I see them out of that context and come to the bars to see us and stuff. And we get a lot of cosplayers, which is really cool.
Yeah.
That's one of the best
Even
parts.
when you play bars?
Yeah. Like the Melody Inn show, we had quite a few stormtroopers in there. Yeah.
What do you think we do when we're not dressing up
Yeah,
and
yeah,
doing
yeah.
around lightsabers?
There was an R2D2 at one of our shows, the red one, but that was really... I was in the middle of a solo, and I saw him, and it almost messed me up. I was like, oh, my God.
Was he serving drinks?
Beeping and spinning around, dancing and stuff.
But not serving drinks,
Not
right?
yet, no.
Wait, there was
That'd be
somebody
a good
actually
idea.
in an R2D2?
No, it was a remote control,
Oh,
but
okay.
actual size,
I
though.
remember that. I was at that show, actually.
Yes, you were. Yes, you
Yeah.
were. We were big for our britches that day because we had an official documentary filmed about us that day. It's on Go 90. You have to download the app to see it, but Go 90 in a Galaxy is the show, and it's pretty legit. The first episode has Weird Al Yankovic and the stormtroopers he brings on from the 501st at his shows. So there's a star on one of them, but it's a show about Star Wars fans and their extreme things they do. Like somebody's a tattoo person for Star Wars, somebody makes X-wings, and heartwarming stories about kids going through some Star Wars stuff. So, but yeah, they did a little documentary on us. They came to my house with all these official cameras and lights and stuff, and we were put on the spot. And luckily, they edited out most of my stammering, so I didn't. The camera decreases 10 points of IQ for me. It's crazy.
You were pretty goofy that night.
Yeah.
Pretty,
Turned out well though, and you were there. I think you might have been in one of the scenes actually when they sweep past the crowd.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it when I'm grabbing your dick?
Oh, hopefully.
I love to do that.
Different movie.
Mm-hmm.
You just get so flustered.
Nah, only on the outside.
Oh, for sure.
So, did you personally have a big collection yourself?
I sure do. I lost a lot of my original figures in a garage theft. I left my garage door open one day and came home and it was gone. So I've been
fuck.
buying back with a vengeance. There's a store called Kokomo Toys in Kokomo, and it's dangerous for Star Wars fans of all kinds to go there because I can't leave without spending $50, $100 on used figures. They've got really good deals.
So if you own Kokomo Toys, you owe us $50 now.
Yep. Another sponsor. So yeah, my house is completely dedicated to Star Wars. Every room's got some in it, and I'm running out of space. I've got boxes of the figures now, and I always say, "Oh, well, I'm not going to buy all the figures for this movie." Yeah, every movie I own all the figures. I draw the line. I get the small size like I grew up with, though, not the bigger ones.
They're
Tom
not
had
the same.
almost
No,
every.
Yeah.
Some
I
of
had the Darth Vader. You could put the figures in.
Oh, I remember
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, the case.
Man.
Had a X-wing fighter.
Nice.
Had a friend that had a Millennium Falcon. That was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
For years, I would find Star Wars toys in the yard,
Yeah.
in the pasture, everywhere. I mean, just walking. I mean, for years, you'd find your random Star Wars toys all over the farm. It was just,
Yeah, I wasn't much of a collector. I was just more of like I just wanted to play with them.
Yeah, yeah,
Me
yeah.
too.
That was.
And that's how it should be.
Mm-hmm. You mix
Yeah.
your GI Joes with them in the battle.
I always threw my He-Man characters.
He-Man's.
in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't have very many G.I. Joe. I think I had like 2 or 3 G.I. Joe characters, like the more popular ones, But yeah, I had all the He-Man figures, and they used to battle it out with the Star Wars
Same here.
characters.
Castle
for sure.
Grayskull.
Yep.
Imperial Fortress. Yeah, my brother had all the He-Mans. I had all the Star Wars, so we cross-genred quite a bit with that.
Yep.
Mask.
So how old were you, all you kids, when Star Wars, the very first Star Wars?
I was 4.
That was
You were
73,
4?
wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it
77.
I was not
77.
born.
Yeah, I was negative.
Yeah.
And I saw it in the theater because it stayed in the theater for like 2 years or
Yeah.
so.
Mhm.
So that was the first
think I
movie.
was-
First time I saw it was at the drive-in.
Yeah.
I was 12, and then I was immediately. I never seen anything like that.
No, nobody
before in
had.
my life.
Nobody
Yeah.
had.
And the year before, you gotta remember, the year before Jaws came out,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and that blew everybody. I mean,
Sure.
those 3-4 years right there with Jaws, Star Wars, what's the movie with Harrison Ford?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes,
after
Raiders
that,
of the
yeah.
Lost
Yeah.
Ark.
1980
Jones.
or something. Mm-hmm.
God, it was just magical to be in a movie. I mean, you kids have no idea.
Well, I think we're finally seeing that again. There's a new golden age of film happening
Yeah.
now with
Yeah.
Marvel Universe.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That stuff is, and Disney's starting to finally kill it again too. So we're coming around.
Good.
Fucking millennials.
Thor was
You
great.
kids don't know what it was like.
Yeah, I'm stuck in that weird, Gen X
Yeah.
place where, I was -5 when the first Star Wars movie came out, but my brother was old enough to have really appreciated, my oldest brother, who's now deceased, but he was old enough to really appreciate him and couldn't wait for me to get old enough to sit through a movie. I mean, and I remember distinctly him trying to get me to watch that movie a few times when I was too young to have the
Right.
attention span for it or to really get what was going on. I mean, I'm still watching Pinocchio and The Last Unicorn, and he's like, sit down and watch this movie. Like,
It'll
I
change
don't-
your
yeah,
life.
and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm going to go play with these toys. But when I finally sat through the whole movie, it was like, I could just see them, he was just so proud. He was like, what'd you think? And I was like, it's so good. And, yeah.
But for me, when I first saw Star Wars, I was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Still kind of straight. And then by the time Return of the Jedi came around, I was in high school. And they had, the movie theater, it was in Carmel. And they had, a showing of all the movies and then the new movie. So you could go watch the whole,
I remember
they
that.
had it.
Yep.
So a buddy of mine and I drove up. He said, hey, man, we're going to watch it on acid.
Yeah.
And it blew my
It is geared
fucking
for that.
mind, man.
Yep. I actually
It
did
was
that.
so great.
All the
I mean,
sound
the
effects in the background are
The
made
movie
for
went
it.
from here to way up here
Uh-huh.
for me.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy the other day. This is an odd timeline of how he saw the Star Wars movies. He saw the original, and then just the other day he saw The Last Jedi. nothing in between.
Oh.
Wow.
I don't know.
A lot of gaps in there.
Yeah, he must have been a little confused, but he said he picked up on it pretty quick. But that's just from going from 1977 to 2017. What a way to! That's the only way I've heard of someone watching them that way. So, which brings us, what is the correct order?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's like the first one was actually the fourth or something,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah.
it was. For me personally, if somebody came to me and said, I've never seen Star Wars, what do? I would direct them to YouTube for the 1, 2, 3 mashup. It's like an hour and a half long, and it's pretty much everything you need to see from 1, 2, and 3. Because let's just face it, they're not great. They're pretty problematic movies. But some of it's you got to know what's going on in order for, especially these new ones, to kind of make sense to you. So I would direct someone to that. I can't remember the name of the link, but get fancy with your search in YouTube and you'll find it. It's basically the first 3 movies in an hour and a half. There's hardly any Jar Jar in there. Like I know that's Jeff's favorite character because he's a fucking oddball.
Jar Jar Binks.
But yeah, so I would go there, and then obviously in consecutive order as how they're numbered. That's me personally.
Yeah. I didn't like that second. I mean, I like Jar Jar Binks because he's obviously a stoner. I think.
He's Jamaican, man.
Yeah, he needed that.
He's the worst.
But the first 3 movies will have my heart forever.
Yeah,
Of course.
And do a lot of people you think feel that way, or?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And a lot of people I know only saw the prequels first, so they don't know there's nostalgia and what a big difference those first movies were as far as leaps into technology and special effects and how amazing they were of the time. They don't appreciate that. Looking at it now, it just looks like old cheesy effects, maybe.
And the casting too, just bringing in people that nobody had really heard of, and just 1 or 2 big names that weren't even really in the forefront of the movies. Like that was just, it's genius, and more people are doing it now, and that, it started there, I think.
Yeah, I would say you start with 4. Work your way up from there, and if they want to see the prequels, go for it. Although I will say the one thing with the prequels is, look at A New Hope. Ben Kenobi and Darth Vader fighting in the Death Star is not going to get people too excited to hold a lightsaber. It was a good fight, but the prequels did bring a lot of good choreography and excitement. But my favorite fight is still Empire Strikes Back. Darth Vader.
That was a good one.
So,
yeah. Especially on Elastic Man. Wow.
In Rogue One, I really like that robot.
Yeah.
The
K2SO.
Yes.
That's awesome.
His eyes. I don't know this. Yeah.
Bad C3PO.
So Jason, you want to play a song?
You want me to play a song?
Play us a song, man.
I can
You
play
want
a
to hear
song.
some music?
Sure.
We're all talking geek. No.
Here's one I wrote today. Just kidding, I didn't do that one. How about something off the first album? Take me home, please take me home. I'll do whatever you need done. I'm the perfect size, easy on the eyes, not the property of Obi-Wan. R5D4, astromech with a little more. Just fix my bad motivator, and I can be the droid you're looking for. I've been riding around in a dirty holding cell. Sandcrawler life is such a drain. Well, this DSD keeps eyeing me and saying awful things, and that power droid is driving me insane. R5D4, astromech features galore. Just fix my bad motivator, and I can be the droid you're looking for. charging and a cleaning, and I love an oil bath. You know you like red more than you like blue. R5D4, Astro met with skills galore. Just fix my bad motivator, and I can be the droid you're looking for. R5D4, Astro met with a little more. Just fix my bad motivator, and I can be the droid you're looking for.
Fuck yeah! That's awesome.
Uncle Owen, this one's got a bad motivator.
It's just exactly what I was thinking. This R2 unit's got a bad motivator.
Luke didn't know it was an R5 man, did he?
I gotta tell you, Jason, one of my favorite memories, and this is a memory I would take with me. I would think about this on my deathbed.
You could say this on the radio?
I can say this on the radio. It was, 15 years ago, I guess. Mark Cutson was saying, "Hey, man," he was playing with Bigger Than Elvis, I think, at the radio. He said, "Go down to the theater. There's a Kiss cover band playing." So I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'll go check out Kiss cover band." So we go down there, me and Mark Cutson, and we're watching his band, and the Gene Simmons character is like looking right at me the whole time, doing pelvic thrusts at me, licking his tongue at me, pointing at me. I'm like really uncomfortable.
Were you on acid?
I was not on acid. I felt like I was. And, Cutscene is like looking at me like, what the fuck is going on with you two, I'm looking at him like, I don't know this guy. What the fuck going on? And it went on for a whole song. And I got the fuck out of there, I left. It bothered me for weeks after that. It bothered me for weeks. I'm like, what the fuck was that for sound? What was that guy?
This explains a lot. So you've just been sexually harassing all your male friends since then.
This was payback that night, see?
Yeah.
Me too, man. Hashtag me too. And then it was like literally like a year later. We were like getting high in the back room at Zangy's, and Jason was like, "Hey, remember that time when I saw you at the Kiss cover band I was in?" I'm like, "That was you!"
Yeah.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, that was my thank you for
You're welcome.
sexually harassing me.
If only my tongue were longer.
It changed his life.
Yeah.
So your new album is just awesome. I mean,
thanks,
the
man.
artwork is just.
Yeah.
Who did the artwork?
A guy named Victor. And then the back cover's a wanted poster by Paul Russell, who's he actually designed Halo, the video game. Came up with the name and a lot of the artworks. That blows my mind that he drew our faces on there.
Awesome.
It's like,
wow.
That's that guy. Wow. So yeah, I'm so glad it's on vinyl now to give the artwork justice because it's a lot bigger now. Because they came in the mail, I stared at it for like an hour. Going, wow, it's my first record. Look how beautiful it is.
Yeah, and the cover really does look like a movie poster.
It is.
Huh?
Yeah, totally, man.
I mean, I wish I had one here that we could look at.
I don't know. Meant to bring one.
Some asshole didn't bring one for me.
I'll bring one to State Street. We'll do lunch.
Okay.
Best
cool.
damn cheeseburger in the city, you say.
Yeah,
I'll have to
best
see what's up with
goddamn
that.
cheeseburger in
It's
the
a
city.
damn good cheeseburger.
State Street Pub.
Yep.
Music, live
It's
music.
on. I'll get you that and that
Cheeseburger.
Scallywag CD you wanted.
And acid friendly.
Acid friendly, yeah.
Acid friendly.
That's going to sound like we're drug heads. I've only done acid like a handful of times. Luckily, Star Wars was one of them, but yeah. It's been a while.
No
Now
comment.
you know. I put that bug in your head. So you gotta go find some acid before the next movie show. So how many times do you sing a movie the last
This one, it's 3 times.
Three times so far?
Yeah. And the 4th time today here in less than an hour.
and
Nice.
how many times have you beat off doing this?
Well, that comes later. I
Okay.
gotta
You
fill
get
the
help,
spank
Put
bank
it in the
first.
bank and then you take it home,
Yeah,
right?
when it's full.
Okay.
But I saw it every which way. First night was normal, so you're not concentrating on 3D effects. You're just looking at the story and stuff like that. So we saw that normal, and then we went to the IMAX in the State Museum, which is 70 millimeter biggest film you can see, and that was amazing.
I'm going to see that tomorrow.
That's really good there.
Yeah.
I love it. And then yesterday was 3D IMAX normal 3D, and then today's just normal 3D. So we'll get all the ways
You
to
are
see it.
a fucking geek of all geeks.
Luckily, it's a good
I
movie.
plan on
'cause-
doing the exact same thing. So far, I've just seen it in regular 3D.
Have you been planning this for months?
Yeah, because that's when they came out. Bought the tickets a month ago.
Yeah.
They sold out like that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I have to sit right in the middle, too. I can't stand being on the
Same.
side listening to stuff or watching stuff.
I need that audio sweet spot. Too.
Exactly. That's
Like,
what it is.
Yeah, gotta have it.
So this whole reserving tickets in a movie theater must be a godsend.
Yes, it is. At first, I was pissed off about the thing because we're buying tickets and they said, pick your seats. I'm like, what? We can't just get best being the first here? But it makes sense. Now you can buy them way in advance and get your ticket.
Yeah.
And you don't have to show up 2 hours
Exactly.
early just to make sure you're the first one in there.
Because I can't stand being early anywhere, especially work. The only people are there for 20 minutes. I'm like, what are you doing here?
We were so early to the movie. But I gotta say, man, like for anybody who hasn't gone yet, well, you shouldn't be listening to this because we're spoiling the fuck out of the whole movie. But it was so many trailers. I mean, it was just what was it like 30?
20 minutes at least.
It was
30
at
minutes.
least, yeah. It was like a half hour, and like the only trailer that even remotely looked interesting to me was Ready Player One, and even that is like. Man, the only reason I'm going to go see it in the theater is because it's visuals. That movie is pretty much all about the visuals. So, of course, you're kind of not, you're doing it a disservice if you see it on a regular TV screen, if you pirate it.
A lot of movies that way. Like the Marvel movies you got to see in the theater, too. There's
Absolutely.
so much going on.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll forever go see the Marvel movies in the theater, but
I'm
even...
really excited back in the Aquaman movie.
Yeah?
I bet you are.
Yeah.
He was always my favorite character.
You like those shirtless Jasons, don't you?
I love it. Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing Jason Momoa without a shirt on it.
Again.
Not gonna lie.
Well, we did see Kylo Ren without a shirt.
Yeah,
that was the weirdest.
You didn't like it?
First of all, I don't know if it was just those insanely high-waisted pants that he had on. But he's got like that, the way he was built, or again, it might have just been the pants he had on, but the way he seemed to be built was like one of those like old 1920s fisticuffers or something. Like just a very strange muscle mass on that guy. So no, that was a shocking. I felt like Ray. I was like, please put some clothes on. You have a shirt, weird sweaty high pants guy. In my mind,
her reaction was giggle-worthy, though.
Yeah, she's like, okay, enough of that.
You might be my brother. This is Star Wars.
Do you think, are we going to start talking about the movie? When are we going to start talking about the movie?
We're going to start talking about the movie whenever you want to start talking. Apparently, you can talk all night about the movie.
Starting with Kylo Ren without a shirt?
Yeah.
Well, he told her who her parents were, but he might be lying.
I'm not buying it. Yeah. I'm not buying it at all. And in fact, my personal theory, and I know that some other people share this theory, is that he's kind of a fuckboy, and I think he's got a thing for her. Like, I think he has a thing for Rey.
All of us do. But
and I mean, I got a thing for her too. But like, his obsession is a little far out there. I mean, in the last movie when they mentioned the girl, he loses his shit.
Oh yeah, what
you know
girl?
what I mean? So I mean, but he already knows who she is. Like it's like. There's a thing, like, he already knows, like, he hears the word a girl, and he, like, something in him changes. It's like he knows what's coming. I don't believe that her parents are no one. I think either he's just flat out lying to her because he wants her to join him, and it's much easier to turn someone to the dark side if they have nothing to look forward to, and they'd feel like they don't belong. And I think he was trying to put her there. But there's also the theory that I wouldn't be adverse to, I wouldn't be mad if this was what really happened, is that he just saw what she saw in the cave, and that's her worst fear, is that her parents are literally no one, and they just sold her and don't give a shit about her, and so that's what he saw, and thinks that that's the reality of the situation.
Maz knew something was up too, because who's the girl?
Yeah, and Maz knows who she is, and and the fact that she was drawn to Luke's,
and she made it a family thing.
It's
the lightsaber reaction.
Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite. I truly think she's nobody because I think the Skywalkers have done enough to the universe to.
I don't think she's a Skywalker.
Or just that whole family, like that whole connection. She needs to be somebody else. I mean, she's the representation that we can all come in and do something, as opposed to be related to Obi-Wan or.
Sure.
I don't know who else they could write her in.
I mean, yeah, I'm thinking she's a Kenobi, honestly.
Why is there so much fucking incest in the Star Wars universe?
We don't know.
I mean, so Luke and Leia kissed once. Like,
they didn't know.
They didn't know.
There's a good song about that. Another plug for the Avon 4. We're about to come up with a 7-inch split EP with a band called Land Speeder from Chicago, and they have a song called Sister Kisser.
Nice.
It's an earworm. It'll get stuck in your head, so we'll have to pick that soon when it comes out.
All right. Well, Jason, got anything else you want to talk about?
Let's talk about Star Wars some more.
Talk about Star Wars some more.
This new movie. Also, if you go to the State Theater IMAX, show up there on time, because I expected trailers and trailers. We got there 10 minutes late and missed the crawl on the big screen. So
Yeah, they only do at the IMAX. They only do IMAX trailers, so there's considerably fewer. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
State Street Museum. The State Museum owes us $50.
Collect.
What was your favorite part about the movie? I mean, looking, you've seen the regular, so you got the story down.
Well, I'm with Mark, where the way they treated Luke wasn't where I would go with him. So that's probably where a lot of people were upset, where they're expecting a certain Luke Skywalker, and that's different to what their expectations were. But I think it works within the movie. It's a good place.
Now, just to satisfy my curiosity, I don't care if spoil it for me. Carrie Fisher, is she in the movie? Or?
Yeah,
Yep.
she's very
In a
prominent
big way.
in the movie. We'll talk about that in a second, because I have a lot to say about that.
A lot of wet eyes, I think.
Oh, I mean, almost an ugly cry. Like, almost. Honestly, I think this was, as far as what I've witnessed, I think this was Mark Hamill's best performance.
Oh, yeah.
It was just so real. I mean, the motivation was there, the expression was there, the vulnerability, the shame, the anger, all of it was there. I mean, it was a very packed performance, and he didn't overplay it like he has want to do in the past. You thought he overplayed it a little bit?
No, but also kind of, just because I've seen so much of Mark Hamill, thankfully, like in interviews, like any given point, Luke almost went off into a story about someone he knew, like he does, and he's entertaining. There was a little too much, but that's nitpicking for me. Like, otherwise, I loved his performance. So, but
yeah, I mean, we could nitpick this movie, for sure.
But as far as they handled Luke, it was a perfect example of like how powerful he was without actually showing. Because you don't need to show Michael Jordan beating a 5-year-old at basketball. I mean, we've been force-fed Luke Skywalker doing godlike things for
we all
20,
know
30
he's a
years.
Badass.
So
we get it.
And we got that, but we also didn't, because they didn't need to show it. I mean, we got casual glimpses of him. Like, the closest thing we got to him in a lightsaber fight was protecting himself against Rey.
Right.
And he beat her with a stick.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of imagined that in my head, too. So it was, again, a perfect example of his power without just doing Return of the Jedi again, just with better graphics.
What'd you guys think of Rey?
Thought she did great.
Yeah. I mean, Daisy Ridley's she's amazing. I think she's perfectly cast, and she did just as well in this movie as she did in the last one.
Is this actually Carrie Fisher's daughter?
No. Daisy Ridley is Rey. She's the main character, I guess you'd call her. Yes, the main protagonist in this film. And technically she's a phenomenal actor. I think she's gonna be a big name. But yeah, I thought her expressions. She's got just these like beautiful, subtle expressions of like, my favorite one was in the last movie where Finn is lying to her and saying that he's part of the Resistance, and she totally knows, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're part of the, okay, big boy." Yeah, she's like, "I've never met a Resistance fighter," like, and you can totally it's great. She's acting like she's not acting in a movie. It was
there's like a stifled laugh, like almost like like
she's like kind of moving her mouth like, I'm not gonna laugh at you.
I thought you were about to mention my favorite part of the movie before, where he's lying on the ground, and his first reaction is like, "Are you okay?" And that subtle expression in her face says, "Nobody's ever felt about me, cared about me enough to ask that before." Like, wow, I'm fine, or whatever she said. But her facial acting was spot on there.
Yeah, I think, and there were moments with her and Luke too, where that kind of happened in this movie, and I can't wait to see it again, so I can like really see all those little things that kind of went over my head, because I was just wee the whole time.
So how was that for you? I mean, as you watched the movies, did you pick up something new each time you went back?
Yeah, you always do. Little things in the background that you weren't focused on before, because the effects are so boom one way, and then there's a lot in the background. They're really enriched.
How are the effects
visuals.
in this movie?
Huh?
the effects, how are they?
They're top notch. Because I went back and watched them all before this one, and really on the prequels, especially Episode 2, it's the CGI is so obvious on Blu-ray. Anyway, I don't remember it in the theaters going that looks like shit, but on the screen for some reason Yoda is just awful. You know, and a lot of the backgrounds are like, oh, that's not green screen. So this one, it was pretty seamless with the effects. I didn't see anything cheesy. But
what are those little, the pogs or whatever they're called?
Porgs. Yeah,
Porgs.
that was borderline.
I could have maybe done with maybe a little bit of actual animatronics or something. Maybe not so heavy on the CGI with them.
Chewie looks a little CGI. They say he's not, but
He's not. It's a new guy. It's
Juno.
some sweet. He's enormous. I know. I can't remember his name, but yeah. Yeah, I could have, and I thought the Crystal Foxes looked really good though. And but those were half animatronic, half CGI. Like they actually built a Crystal Fox and did a lot of motions with it, and then kind of CGI'd on top of it. But I saw the little making of on the Star Wars channel and showing them like actually moving this little fox around with remote control is super cool.
They've come a long way. I mean, Episode 4, I think they were putting Vaseline underneath the speeders.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have come a long way for sure.
I remember one part for me with Last Jedi, and I kind of had to remind myself what movie I was watching, because after watching Rogue One, I'm kind of tired of watching like Rebels and the Rebellion die, and then like there's too much war, and then I Star Wars, so I had to take a step back when thought about that. But yeah, what do you guys think of Snoke? You think they handled him okay?
Yeah,
I do. I know a lot of people are mad about the way things went down with Snoke, because everybody wants to know who the hell he is, where he came from, why, what is his big motivation. You know,
Who is this?
Snoke is one of the, he was in the last movie. He's a bad guy.
yeah, he's like the Emperor, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like the new Palpatine, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Might be.
Might still be.
We
We
don't
don't
know.
know. I mean, the dude obviously has been cut in half before. You know,
Right.
he's got a big giant scar on his head. He's missing his cheeks. So I would find it. I would not be surprised at all if he comes back in the next movie, because cutting. I mean, as we've seen multiple
Darth Maul.
times, cutting somebody with Force in half does not necessarily mean that's the end of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they chopped Darth Vader into tiny, tiny bits. So, yeah, I'm not going to be surprised if he comes back at all. I thought he did a good job. I mean, I don't know. It's the best you can do with a completely CGI character.
Yeah. I would have liked 1 or 2 minutes more of just a little more explanation.
Of who the hell he is or what?
Just, yeah. You kind of get glimpses, like maybe he influenced Kylo Ren, a little bit more, maybe. But,
earlier on than we thought he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I like Kylo went totally rogue. There's no redemption for him, really. I mean, so that was a good example of why they kind of used Snoke to make Kylo.
Do you have a theory about who Snoke is?
I trust them when they say he's not important, but I think he was somebody who, trying to figure out the best way to put it here, but really
He's a catalyst.
Yeah, so he probably influenced Ben early on to get rid of the Jedi Order so the First Order could come in. So but that'd be one of my theories, but not so important of who he actually is.
Ray's daddy.
There is that. That's floating around. I've
But
seen that a couple of times.
Snoke's alien, though, so
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
not that it truly matters.
My biggest question is, how did he have influence on Kylo so early on? Like Ben, I mean, he literally was, the mind control thing possibly, but and why? Those are questions that I would like answers. What that motivation was.
For him, he'd want a powerful apprentice.
Yeah.
They kind of get off on that.
And then there's the other question of, why just kill Rey off when she's clearly every bit as strong as Kylo, if not more so.
I guess maybe he thought she wouldn't turn.
Yeah.
So is there going to be
That.
another movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
They got to finish the trilogy with the third movie.
Yeah.
And I think this is honestly just the beginning. I mean, I don't think that, they go to great lengths to kind of kill off the old stuff, all the old the plots and the stories and the characters. They've gone to great lengths in these last two movies to kind of start over with the Star Wars universe.
Got it. So they're laying groundwork for a whole new
generation, basically.
of movies.
Now they don't have to pay the old actors that exorbitant fee that they would charge to be in another
and
movie.
these old actors aren't going to be able to, how much longer can you keep doing it?
One more movie, come on.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Wolverine. Like, he's clearly, you just can't, you reach a certain point, it's like, you're done, dude. Like, I love you, but you're fucking done.
Why didn't Harrison Ford ever want to come back and...
He never wanted to be in those movies in the first place.
Yeah, like, killed off in the second.
No, like the way that Han treats the Force is pretty. It's a good metaphor for just how Harrison Ford felt about those movies in general. His sidekick being a giant hairy Muppet, basically. It was just a little too absurd for him. He's a popped collar. He's way too cool for that stuff.
He says the character isn't interesting enough.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you played him. You could have made him more interesting.
Yeah.
I think he's perfect. He was a hero of mine growing up. He taught me the ways of women. You gotta get him a little agitated, get the blood going a little bit, and then the makeup kiss is much better. See.
Yeah. I guess Poe Dameron's kind of taken up that. Not with the ladies. I've got my theories about his sexuality.
Holdo.
But yeah, he definitely has taken up that mantle of the carefree pilot who just kind of goes off and does his own thing, doesn't listen to anybody. He's a real rebel,
Yeah.
That's a good segue though into Holdo and how he kind of treats that whole situation. What'd you think?
Well, yeah, because on the surface, she played it up to not be as impressive as she really was. Like with her speech, it was almost I don't want to say millennial. It was, I don't know. It turned out in the end that she had a good idea and didn't let it known that she had one cooking. Everybody's kind of just like, why are you just making us run? This isn't going to work. And so, yeah, she was painted as not as capable as she really was. And by the end of it, you can sense with her conversation with Leia that they've been in the battles before, and
yeah.
She's got more.
Yeah, it turns out her and Leia are real tight. I thought it was interesting, also / annoying, that Poe, immediately his mind, since she's not explaining herself to him, which, their first interaction on screen, she straight up tells him, wasn't Leia's last act to demote your ass? Like, basically, she's like, you're, that's her setting the tone for basically how she feels about this dude. Like, all right, kid, you're real cute, like, call me when you got your big pants on, like, she totally treats him like he's a little kid, and he kind of is. Like, he just kind of does whatever he wants to do. He's very reactive, and which is cool, but also in that particular situation, DJ would have never known their plans. They would have never known they were going to the surface of that planet had he not jumped the gun, not trusted, the vice admiral, and just done his job. Had he just done what he was told to do, none of those people would have died going down to the surface of that planet, because DJ would have never known that that was their plan, which means that the New Order would have never known that that was their plan. So Poe fucked that whole situation up. And the fact that, like, I know that one of the big criticisms is, well, why didn't she just tell him that she had a plan? Because she's the fucking vice admiral. She doesn't have to answer to him. That's exactly why.
He might spill it, too.
And there's that, he might go off and tell someone, and he is kind of a loose cannon, so I could understand why she wouldn't trust him necessarily with that tidbit of information. But yeah, it just, the fact that people were annoyed that she didn't explain herself to someone who had just been demoted for being a jackass was like, all right, yeah, you know what, like, calm down. Like, just calm down.
Can't you see these cameras on me? I'm important.
Yeah. It was very much that whole, like, I'm in charge here. I don't care what this woman says. And his mind just immediately goes to, she's a shill. She's here to, I don't know. She's working against us, kind of thing. She's a traitor. And I love that, when she kicks that smoke thing and, like, it blows in those guys' faces that are holding guns on her. And in that moment, you're like, oh shit, is she a bad guy? Like, they actually, like, really take you all the way to the edge of that before you realize, nah, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, at first you don't see her as such a soldier, but more of like a politician type.
A diplomat.
Right.
Yeah, maybe she doesn't have the chops for war. Yeah, and then you realize, nah, she knows what she's doing. Also, Laura Dern's just perfect. Like, I think she played the role great. Those collarbones just absolutely floored me. Like, the minute she was on the screen, the air just got sucked out of my lungs. I was like, oh, Oh, there she is.
What else was she in?
She's in Jurassic Park.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, she's the scientist in Jurassic Park. She's great. Yeah, she's phenomenal. Yeah.
What about Leia?
She's great.
Beautiful
I mean,
scenes.
the
a lot
woman.
of the scenes that weren't intentional to pull heartstrings have more depth now because of her actual passing.
Absolutely.
We read more into it by looking at her and getting emotional about it.
I mean, yeah, there. Right, it's impossible not to get emotional. If you're a real Star Wars fan, the minute you see her on that screen, it was impossible not to get emotional. I think I just squeezed Tony's hand. I was like, oh, God, here it comes. I was like, oh, here it goes.
And I like that she wasn't snuffed away right away like you thought,
I wasn't... It didn't even occur to me for a second that that's how she was going to go. It didn't. They never fooled me for a half a second. I was like, this is not how Leia dies.
Yeah.
I didn't... I was not... So... They're looking at us like Jeff's looking at me like I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Just for context here, we got 3 people on one side of the desk here that are just like talking about the most, like they're all into it, and then we got 2 people on this side over here that just like kind of like
mouths open. like we have no idea what you nerds are talking about.
I feel like we have like an author on the show, and we're like, well, I didn't read your book.
That's kind of how
like
this is going.
Can't even say anything.
Yeah, so for reference, there's a battle scene. The bridge of this ship is just blown apart. Leia, you watch her in her chair get sucked right out into space. And then, as if that's not bad enough, you think to yourself, like, what the fuck are you trying to do to me here? They, like, close in on her frozen face floating through space. And it's just like... Tony's like, no, man, come on. I could hear him sitting next to me. He's like, come on, man. What are you doing? Like, in his mind, he's thinking, like, they're really trying to drive it home that she's dead.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, no.
Cry, motherfucker. But I wasn't. I personally thought that in that moment, that was when Rey was going to swoop in and be like, oh, shit, and just grab her, out of space. But instead, her fingers start moving. And you realize, oh shit, she's not dead. She's been floating in space for like a good, 15 to 20 seconds at this point. And her fingers start moving, and she just opens her eyes, looks up at the ship, puts her hand out, and just floats straight to it.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all!
She uses the Force, and it's something that I have literally been waiting for 30 fucking years. Like, from the first time I ever saw Star Wars, I was like, so wait a minute. Leia's got powers... She's clearly the one who can handle pressure. She's clearly the one who is emotionally mature. She's clearly the one who's been through way more shit than these other characters, especially Luke, who's just a hick from nowhere. But yet we're going to train Luke to be the Jedi Master, and we're going to focus this entire fucking story on this dude? Like, why aren't we training the capable one, because it was the 70s.
Exactly.
I mean, that is the beginning and end of it right there.
Well, Luke spent, 15 minutes out in the cold on Hoth and almost died.
Yeah.
She spent, about 60 seconds out in space, blowing out a ship.
Yeah.
And she came back.
She just floated her ass back into and then opened the door with the Force. She was like, I'm going to open this door and walk right in like nothing, like I wasn't just floating in fucking vacuum of space.
So wait, Layla lived through this movie? She's still alive?
She's still alive. I'm curious about how they're gonna wrap that up. Like, I don't know what they're going to do in the next one. But yeah.
I just assumed that...
Closing scene, she's right there. Just.
So you guys must have thought, this is it. This is how they're going to kill her off.
They're left in such a dire straits by the end, though, that you wonder how the hell are they going to have another movie. I have a theory that they're going to wait, like, it's going to be a several-year period in time when the next one happens.
At least 5 years.
Because
they
got
have
some
no
kids,
idea how they're going to wrap her up.
They got some kids that might grow up to be some players in the next one, maybe. So if you give them some grow-up time, they might have more options there.
Unfortunately, we got to wrap this thing up. So I want to, Doug, can you tell us how to get a hold of you? How can we find out more about your organization and everything?
If you're interested, we do everything off of basically Facebook. So like us on Facebook, contact us via Twitter. We have all our events up on there. Classes every Tuesday, 6:30 to 7 or 6:30 to 7:30. check us out. I mean, first class, I think it's like $5, and you don't have to come every week.
And it's at the Indy Lightsaber Academy.
Indy Lightsaber Academy. So we're really easy to find. So there's not two of us. So Indy Lightsaber Academy, and yeah, come check us out. I mean, you're gonna have fun, no matter who you are. Even if you don't like lightsabers, you're gonna have fun.
Y'all listening, if you do show up, you'll probably see me there, because I'm pretty sure I'm coming.
That's cool, yeah.
Especially $5 for your first lesson. That's a great date night. Like,
oh yeah,
let's go
Plus
beat
you
each
can
other up.
Beat the fuck out of Tony.
Yeah,
Right?
That'd be great.
Man, he's got a reach though.
I'd pay $5 just to see that.
That dude's a monster.
Yeah.
He's big.
And Jason, how do we find the Yavin 4?
The Yavin 4, we're everywhere. Facebook is where we like to communicate the most, so find us there. And then bandcamp.com with a Yavin 4 / in front of it will get you all our merchandise. You can listen to it before you buy if you like.
Cool.
We got 2 albums on there now, and one of them also has a vinyl version. And then we got T-shirts and things like that, trinkets.
All right.
So I think we have a Twitter. And I don't tweet, so
Yeah, I don't either.
I stayed out of that part. And YouTube, it's got a lot of our demos. Every time we post or record a new demo, we get so excited we post it the same night. So
Okay.
look for the next album to be starting with that.
I'm excited for your next, theme band, the Spaceballs.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, just like today, I'm surrounded by assholes.
Well, we definitely appreciate you guys taking the time to come down and talk with us. And
Thanks for having us.
Kiki kind of looked at me like, dude, there's so much more to talk about.
I know. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I wanted to give a shout out to our audio engineer, Rick. I don't want to say too much, but he's got some stuff going on with his foot, and he's hobbled around here, and he's worked his ass off, and
He's like
and
yoga in there.
We really appreciate him. He's a
like
trooper.
the yoga.
He is a trooper. So, So this podcast is haunted. Guys, you got to check it out. There's some of our friends up in Michigan. We do ours once a month. They're every other week. So definitely check them out. You're listening to 8 Up, the podcast.
Well, we got the riffraff out of the room, and now it's just me and Tom and Kiki all alone.
All by ourselves.
All
I'm
by
a little
ourselves.
scared. No, I'm not. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of you, Jeff.
You should be scared. You should be scared,
you
actually.
motherfucker.
So this is the part where I review the movie.
This is the part. So we're gonna make this a weekly or monthly or podcastly thing. Where every podcast we're gonna give you your own little segment and let you review whatever the fuck you want to review. You can review a restaurant. You can review a toy.
What have you done, Jeff?
Whatever you want to review. It's called Kiki Corner.
Oh, shit. You've given me
So
a
now,
platform.
first episode of Kiki Corner.
We've been talking about Star Wars this whole entire episode. I loved having these guys in here. Like, it just reeked of nerd in here for a good couple of hours, and that was way more fun than anyone should have on a Sunday morning.
I don't think I'm ever going to get an erection again for the rest of this year.
You stop it. You love us nerds. So we had some really good conversation about the characters in the movie. I think it was cool that everybody that was here that had seen the movie, unlike you two, we all really enjoyed it. I mean,
we really do need to get our shit together.
You do. This was, this movie, I'm going to give it an A. I'm, a solid, even A+. I think it's right up there. For me, I think it was right up there with Empire Strikes Back. I think that the character development was phenomenal. Obviously,
So where is Empire Strikes Back on
my scale,
Yes.
number 1.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's most Star Wars fans. I don't think I'm really rocking the boat here by saying that, Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people would argue with me by saying that this is a really close runner-up. I know that there was a lot of criticism. And we'll talk about that criticism here in a minute. I have notes. But ultimately, this movie was a lot of fun. And like I said earlier, I don't go into films looking for something to pick apart. This is my preferred escapism. This is my drug of choice. Movies, TV, I love visual media, and I'm practically, maybe even seriously obsessed with watching, TV shows, movies, especially when you throw a sci-fi or superhero bent to it. I'm all in, and I want to have fun. I'm not there to pick it apart. I'm not there to debate the scientific possibilities or the reality or my suspension of belief. I never want to hear that term again. I'm just not one of those viewers. I don't hate things.
How do you do it?
How do I like everything?
It seems like if a new series comes out on Netflix,
I've already seen it.
No, it's not even that. It's like a 20 fucking episodes, and a day later you're seeing a whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
How do you just stay up?
Yeah,
Jeff,
for
it
8
takes
hours?
serious dedication.
Have you never binge watched anything?
Kinda, but not. I still have patience.
It takes some serious dedication. It does take patience. It also takes food delivery.
Yep.
You gotta have food delivered.
Do you prepare?
I do prepare myself
Like
for some of these.
Indy.
For some of them, I mean, there are for me.
you know when it's coming out.
Yeah,
so,
of course. Especially with like these Netflix originals that have been coming out. We get ready. It's like, all right, well, just keep in mind that this Friday night at 3 a.m. this is coming out. Like, so we definitely are ready.
You got your popcorn ready. You got your drink.
I'll go to the
You got your
grocery
porta
store,
potty,
make sure
take
that
my
we've got
bag.
enough snacks ready on hand. Like I'll fresh sheets because we're just gonna lay in bed and watch TV for 2 days straight. That's just what we're gonna do. And I'm not ashamed of it. I mean, I know like there's a lot of people who don't want to admit that they watch as much TV as I do, but I have no problem admitting that once I've done my my chores, my adulting for the day, the minute my pajamas go on, like, it's TV. I don't even really watch TV, conventional TV, but we do pirate a lot of TV shows.
Yeah,
and
because
movies.
why would you?
I mean,
Right?
we pirate so much, but with a habit like mine, like I literally can't afford to
Right.
pay for everything I want to watch. But we do, I subscribe to Netflix. We've got Hulu, HBO Go, Amazon. I mean, we have the things.
Yeah.
But that's not enough. Like that's where
Hulu,
I'm at.
So we
Amazon,
just
My
have the Netflix.
consumption.
Oh, at $50.
Yeah, you guys owe us money. We're just racking up. We need to start a list.
We had the Netflix, and then the Game of Thrones came out. We had to get Voodoo,
Yeah. And we, like I said, we do it. I personally watch all this stuff to enjoy it, not to pick it apart, not to be a critic. I'm not a critic. I'm
So
a
you're
fan.
a fan.
I'm a fan, and especially full circle, I'm a fan of Star Wars. Like we talked earlier, I was not born yet when the first movies came out, but it was such a huge part of, it was the way that me and my half-brother connected. So I, just like anyone else, have all of these memories and nostalgia attached to those first films.
But have you ever watched it on acid?
No. Oh, well, probably, to be honest with you. But I don't remember it. But yeah, so ultimately, I really enjoyed this film. I felt like it was, like I said earlier, the nostalgia was there, but it wasn't so heavy. It didn't feel like fan service, the nostalgia part of it. Just enough of it to make me happy and, some of the more amicable Star Wars fans happy. I did have, like I said earlier, it's not a perfect movie. There are none, if any. There aren't very many perfect movies. I did have some problems. It was funny earlier. We had the guys from Bye Bye in here, and one of them mentioned that they really liked Benicio del Toro being in the movie. He was literally my least favorite character. So there's some division. This is a polarizing Star Wars movie. I personally, I wrote my notes underneath Benicio del Toro as DJ, just says yuck, period. That's it. Because I didn't enjoy him. Why cast such a phenomenal actor, such a profound, actor in such a two-dimensional role? I felt like it was. I knew what was going to happen with him. Like, I just knew he was going to end up being the bad guy. He's not who they thought they were going to be. Like, he's not who they wanted in the first place. And that's one of the biggest critiques of this movie that I think actually does have some weight to it. That that entire subplot with John Boyega, Finn, him and Rose, and going out to to the casino and trying to find this code breaker, it gets muddled and a little lost, and it's kind of a weak subplot. But if I try to imagine the movie without it, I can't. So maybe it could have been done a little better. Maybe it was a little rushed, but I feel like it kind of was necessary, if that makes any sense for you two who haven't even seen it. I'm just going to keep railing on you for this.
What are you doing tonight, man?
Yeah, you guys just need to walk across the street and go see this fucking movie.
I got my $2.80 ticket for next weekend. I'm moving out.
All right.
So we talked about the characters. A few people that we didn't really mention. Kelly Marie Tran as Rose. It's a great character. I think that she shows that feminine strength that's still, it's vulnerable, but yet she's incredibly brave, and just you're rooting for her the whole time, even though she's a little naive, but fantastic. She's a fantastic character. Finn's a fantastic character. They just kind of gave him a weak subplot.
I love Finn in the first movie.
Yeah, Finn's great. I mean, all of these actors were phenomenal in this movie. I honestly think so.
So, Kikii, before we go any further, can you give us in a small amount of time just to capture, just sum up the whole plot of the whole movie?
Well,
just to completely
shit.
spoil the shit.
There's a
out
lot
of it.
going on in this movie. If I had to sum it up in just a few sentences, I would say, again, we're out in the middle of space. The New Order has figured out where the Resistance is. They're coming after them. Rey is trying to figure out where the fuck Luke. I mean, they figured out where Luke is, but she's trying to go get him and bring him back, and he's not really complying with this whole idea. And in the meantime, there's these other subplots that kind of get lost in the grand scheme of the movie. But ultimately, this is a Star War. I mean, this is about the New Order coming after the rebellion. The rebellion kind of going back and forth between being on the winning end and the losing end, just like pretty much every other Star Wars movie. The producers and the director of this movie has said this is a movie about family, and it kind of is. I didn't see that as much as what I had expected, considering how much they had trumped up this whole idea of family in this movie. But ultimately, I think this is just a movie about the people in the Resistance. Really, it almost feels like their last leg of hope. There's just not a lot left for them to build their faith on this Resistance for. And so this is kind of like, Leia Organa and Rey and all of the old players and the heavy hitters in these films are trying to they're grasping at straws to make sure that the Resistance stays alive and that the New Order doesn't just completely take over the galaxy.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, we talked about a lot of the characters. I went on and on at length about Laura Dern and how much I love her, and I can't repeat it enough. She's phenomenal in this movie. Billy Lord, again, just floored me. I mean, it played at my heartstrings for sure. Gwendolyn Christie, we didn't talk about her. She's Captain Phasma. She was in the last movie as well. And she plays Brienne of Tarth on Game of Thrones. And I love that character. And I really, because I loved her on Game of Thrones so much, I wanted to love Captain Phasma, like this strong, large, physically imposing woman who owns shit. Like I wanted to love her. She kind of fell flat in the last one and this one. And her death almost reminded me of Boba Fett's. Like, it's almost a pratfall death. You know what I mean? Where it's like she's supposed to be this badass, and you guys remember like where Boba Fett dies in Return of the Jedi, and I mean he literally gets thrown into a pit by a pratfall. Like so that's pretty bad. It wasn't that bad, but it's not great the way.
Still one of the really moments.
Yeah, it's like could you? I mean, you kind of played her up, and it almost felt like they played her up to sell toys. And I know that this is a big complaint that people have. She's going to be that one rare toy that everybody has to have. Yeah, exactly. And she really doesn't do much, kind of like Boba Fett. She doesn't really lend a lot to the story. She's just sort of supposed to be this badass, but we never see why. Right. So that's, that is a criticism. Oscar Isaac does a great job as Poe Dameron, but I fucking hate Poe Dameron. I'm just going to be real with you. Like, I know that there's a ton of books out of his entire backstory, and he's some deep character. I don't fucking care. Like, I'm just going to be, I don't. Like, Poe's not my guy. I mean, he's funny. I like the chemistry that he and Finn have together. It's a little homoerotic. I'm into it. But ultimately, I think that his character... I don't know how to word this. It's that masculinity that is it's the annoying amount of masculinity. Like, I'm right and I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna go blow this shit up, and I'm not gonna listen to these chicks. They don't know what they're talking about. It gets like in the first movie, it was like, cool, okay, he's kind of the new Han, I guess. But then by the second one, you're like, oh fucking come on, man. Like, it's a little over the top. But again, I can't see the movie without it. I mean, that's another.
Don't you kind of need that in every Star Wars
You kind of
movie?
need to have that. I mean, there's little kids going to see this. They want to see some gung ho.
America, fuck yeah!
Yeah, I mean, he kind of is the American in this movie, like for sure.
Oh,
like,
okay,
yeah,
that makes sense
like,
then.
Yeah,
Okay, I got it now.
If you're looking at characters as far as like national politics go, he's fucking America for sure. He means well. He means well. He's just a little young. Doesn't really get it yet. Yeah, General Hux, Dom Gleason did a great job. I don't like that character very much either. I think the character is a little weak. Again, necessary to the plot. But I wanted in this movie 1 fucking minute of reference for why he is so mad. Like, the dude is just so intense and like nationalistic, like to a Hitler degree, and I just want a little explanation. Like, can we see him like hitting a popper in the elevator? Like, maybe that's why he's so off his rocker. Is there anything that you can give me to like help me understand this man's motivation?
Maybe next movie,
Maybe.
Maybe he
well,
never got
actually,
his dad's
no, because
approval,
he's gone. I'll just ruin it for you. He's dead too, thankfully. But yeah, so. There's a scene where Maz Kanata, I don't know if you remember her from the last movie as well. Lupita Nyong'o, she plays her. Great job. I mean, again, there's only so much you can do with a CGI character, but she's phenomenal. But there's a really quick scene with her in it, and I need to go see it again. And I am going to go see it tomorrow, but I didn't really catch what or where the shit was going on in that scene. Like, I didn't understand. She's basically talking to them remotely, and they've got her on a screen, and they're asking for her help, and she's in the middle of a huge battle. Like, she's just fighting for her life there. Shit's blowing up everywhere. There's just pew pew all in the background. So, but they don't really explain it at all, which is cool.
She's in the middle of all this battle shit.
She's in the middle of a battle, and she's absolutely Skyping these assholes in the middle of it. Yeah. And I liked it. I personally thought that was cool. Another point that people were annoyed with, that was a gripe that I heard a few times, but I thought it was cool because, I mean, who knows? The next movie, they may take you straight to Maz Kanata and what was going on there, and that may have some serious relevance to the canon of the rest of these movies. Who knows? So that kind of brings me to the issues that people had with this movie. And I'm just going to... And now that I've told you how much I like it and some of the things that I found disturbing about the movie, some of the reoccurring criticisms I heard. First of all, let's just say this movie got 57% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. And at least that's what it was last night when I looked it up. That's down there with Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And that's just not fucking fair, man.
Yeah.
Like, this was not Attack of the Clones bad movie. Like, very few movies are that bad.
Right.
So for someone to rate this as low as that kind of makes me question whether or not they actually even fucking like Star Wars. Like, why do you like these movies?
Or even if I saw the movie.
Yeah, like, what about Star Wars do you like that you would give this movie a bad, like that bad of a review? I have questions for these people. Do you hear me? I have questions for you. So, get on Facebook, tell me that I'm an asshole, tell me why I'm wrong. But here's where I stand. Y'all need to calm down. That's where I stand. A lot of people are saying that it was predictable. I'm trying to figure out how, what parts of this movie were predictable, besides, DJ being the bad guy and some really minor little things. Some of the big plot twists, Luke dies. Did you see that coming? I sure as fuck didn't, Rey's parents are no one. Nobody saw this stuff coming.
So wait. Luke dies.
Luke dies in this movie.
And
yeah.
Princess Leia is still alive.
And Princess Leia is still alive.
So
exactly.
in real life...
So how is this predictable, Jeff? That's what I want
to
know.
The living actor
yes,
is dead.
Exactly. And the dead actor is alive. Yes.
Maybe they would like Sharknado better,
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. They handled...
There weren't any tornadoes.
They handled Leia really well with that whole thing with her, but I think that they were in production when she passed. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, she had actually cut all of her scenes by then. Okay. They just couldn't go back and redo some stuff, voiceovers, things that they do in production, because, she wasn't around for that, unfortunately. I don't know if anyone else, we forgot to talk about this earlier when they were in here in the studio, but her dog Gary is in the movie. He has a cameo. It's phenomenal.
A real life dog?
Yeah, her actual real life dog. They made him up. I don't know if it's CGI or costuming or what, but they made him up like a little alien dog, and there's an alien guy carrying him around in the casino. It's great. I didn't notice it on first take, but when I was watching, my nerd YouTube channel, somebody mentioned it. I was like, that was Gary. So I got really excited. Yeah, predictable? No, I didn't find this movie, the plot, to be predictable. I think it's pretentious to say that you predicted that all this shit was going to happen, to be honest. A lot of people are saying that it was too cutesy, and I'm wondering how long it's been since they've seen the originals. Because Ewoks are pretty fucking cutesy.
Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, Hootiti. There's a lot of cute moments in the original movies. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of wondering where they're coming at that angle of it's too cute. Again, why are you even a fan? How is this cutesy to you compared to the original movies? I think my favorite are, I always enjoy men's rights activists, that they're so much fun to fuck with. My favorite criticism of this movie is that it's overtly feminist. I've read that a few times. My response to that is fuck right off. That's what I think about that. If you can't handle the fact that the strongest, most emotionally mature characters in this movie are women, and you see that as somehow some sort of agenda, I actually kind of feel sorry for you. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to be real. That's pretty fragile.
Yeah. Plus the dicks were, pretty prominent in the first three movies to begin with.
Yeah. Honestly, this is just showing real, what would be real life as far as, we're in the future. Women make up half the population. Mm-hmm. It stands to reason that there are going to be some seriously strong female characters in this, and it stands to reason that Leia is now a general. She's been in this fight since she was a child. And
like you said, she is in many ways better equipped to handle the pressure.
I agree.
Than Luke Skywalker was.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah, the feminism argument, I that's all I have to say is fuck off. I'm not even going to really give that some weight. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are complaining that no one said I have a bad feeling about this, but apparently BB-8 says it at the very beginning of the movie. It's just in beeps, so you don't understand what BB-8 is saying. But in every single movie, someone has said I have a bad feeling about this, and in this one, you don't understand BB-8 saying it.
Beep, beep, beep,
yeah,
beep.
so there's that whole thing of my childhood. People are really upset that they didn't get that. People are mad that either Rey or Kylo didn't turn to the other side because it pretty much starts out with you thinking, oh, she's going to turn Kylo or Kylo's going to turn her. There are moments where they sort of tease that and it never actually happens. I'm glad. I'm really glad. And this is another thing where I'm like, can you just fucking be patient? Let them tell the story. Eventually this is going to happen. One of them, I personally think it's going to be Kylo, but who knows, one of them is going to turn. Just got to give it time. We talked about Snoke and who he is and everything, and I kind of agree with Dave on that one. I don't really think it matters that much. I like
Doug,
hearing
not Dave.
Doug. I'm so sorry, Doug. I'm sorry, Doug. Yeah, I kind of agree with him on that. Like I don't think it's necessarily. I'm curious. I love hearing the fan theories, but ultimately it doesn't matter to me. It's not enough to say fuck this movie. Yeah. So. Legacy characters all dying off. I mean, we've gotten to that point now. Han's gone, Luke's gone, Leia. They're gonna have to do something about that sooner than later. Chewie.
They could make a movie where you never see her face, and she's always faced away.
Yeah, they could. But yeah, and and Chewie's gonna have to phase out a little bit because I don't know. I mean, he wasn't really there wasn't a lot of Chewie in this movie. His moments are great, as usual. But that's real life. Like, you got kids. I mean, if you're upset that all the legacy characters are dying, you need to face your own mortality. Like, this is it's coming for all of us. So
do rookies have a different life expectation?
Oh God, you should have asked Jason while he was here. I don't know. I'm not that deep into the canon.
That's a good question, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a really good question. What a Wookiee lifespan is? Someone knows.
Podcast you got the podcast.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
Let us know. Let us know. Yeah, I mean, Kylo says something really interesting in the movie that I kind of took as Rian Johnson, the director, sort of he's speaking through Kylo's character to the audience members. He says, "Let the past die. Kill it if you have to." And that's kind of how I felt like this movie, sort of the entire intention of killing off these legacy characters, bringing in these new, powerful characters. They're letting the past die. They're killing it if they have to, and it's going to make some people mad.
So this seems like it's literally like the same sort of movie as Empire Strikes Back. It's a transition movie.
I mean, it definitely borrows from that movie. I think there are a lot of similarities between what Luke went through and what Rey is going through now. But like I said earlier, this movie really, to me, I see where it seems a lot. There are some parallels between Empire and this movie, but ultimately, at the end of the day, when I went home, I wanted to watch Return of the Jedi. I mean, that's the one that there's a scene where Rey goes into a cave. And she's trying to figure out what her place is and all of this and who the fuck she is and what's going on with her powers. And she goes into this cave and she has this literal self-reflection, just it's an infinite reflection of herself. And it's I mean, obviously that's going right back to Luke in the cave, looking at himself, like seeing himself, seeing his dad, all that stuff. So there are similarities from this movie to both of them. One of the things that I noticed is they show a close, when Luke is taking the lightsaber from Rey, you see a close-up of his mechanical hand, and you notice a mark, like some damage on his hand, and it's exactly where his hand was shot during the fight on the platform in Return of the Jedi with Jabba's henchmen. Yeah, he's got his lightsaber up in the air and they shoot him right in the hand. And he's got that mark still on his mechanical hand. That was cool. Little stuff like that they throw in there for the fans. It's appreciated. Leia using the Force fucking finally was like a huge fan. I mean, they just had to. They had to, or women were going to riot. That's where I stand on that. The bad subplots. Yeah, you got me. They're thin. There's some thin subplots in there, but again, I don't fucking care. Like, there are bad subplots in pretty much all the movies. I mean, so you got what you got there. Kylo killing Snoke and then not turning. There's a point in the movie where, Kylo kills Snoke. Snoke doesn't see it coming. A lot of people think that's crazy. I think that just goes to show how strong Kylo is and that he knows how to play his master, because he was definitely feeding Snoke thoughts of like, I'm going to kill my one true enemy, but he didn't let him know that his one true enemy is now Snoke. Wow. So that's what I took from that. A lot of people complain about, Snoke's supposed to be this all-powerful. He brings their minds together, he's supposed to be incredibly mentally powerful. He should have seen it coming. Maybe he should have. I don't know. But I think it furthers the plot. Snoke had to die in that moment. We had to think Kylo, oh, he's a good guy now. No, dude, he killed his own dad. Like, it's going to take a little more than a pretty face, than Rey's pretty face to get him to turn like that. You know, this is going to be an ongoing battle between light and dark. And ultimately, I really like the idea of Kylo and Rey communicating as normal human beings with each other, even though they're on polar opposite sides of this whole fight. I like the idea that she's the light, but as she's meditating, she goes straight into the dark and doesn't even try to avoid it, and it freaks Luke out. But she comes right back. She comes right out of it, and she doesn't turn dark because of it. She's even more resolved at this point, like to try and help Kylo. And even after he tells her she's nothing, she's not falling for it. You know what I mean? Like, she's light and he's dark, but yet they don't immediately want to kill each other. I mean, she did, obviously, since the last movie, the way that ended, and she hated Kylo, and in the beginning of this movie, she fucking hates him. But as they start to understand each other's motivations, there starts to, I don't know, I get this weird, like, it's kind of a fuck watch at this point. Like, I'm wondering if they're going to get together. Like, that's kind of where I'm at with this story, is like, are they going to fall in love with each other? Is this going to be the whole yin yang, you know, eternal light and dark balance thing that comes out of this, that they don't have to, nobody has to turn. They can stay on their own sides, but balance each other out in that way.
And fuck on the weekend.
And fuck on the weekends.
Yeah.
There you go. I like that idea. I love the fact that this movie is different. I really enjoyed how Rian Johnson just sort of, he played homage. He definitely did some fanfare. He stuck to, I think, the canon that was important to move forward with this franchise. Yet he's not your bitch. And I'm going to say it again, Rian Johnson is not your bitch. He's not just going to play to whatever his fans want, you know. And I think there's something to be said for that, because he's doing a really good job of telling this particular story. And wherever this is going to go in the future, I have faith that it's going to be a strong franchise still. You know, there were probably people who hated Return of the Jedi. There were probably, when it came out, you know, there were people who probably hated Empire Strikes Back when it came out. In this movie, like we said, it borrows heavily from both of them. But, you know, we all know that those people now were on the wrong side of history. And I think that time will show that people who hated this movie are also on the wrong side of history.
And if in doubt, take acid and watch it again.
Yeah, when all else fails, just drop a hit of acid.
Yeah.
You'll love it. So yeah, that's it. That's my review of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Half of you, all of you, feel free to comment on the Facebook page, cuss me out, tell me how wrong I am, tell me how right I am. Either one of those things, it won't faze me either way. But if there's a movie or a TV show that you want me to review, please leave comments for us, and I'll get to it, because I'm a freak like that.
Awesome. All right. Well, it was a pleasure
and
having
she
you.
is a freak like that.
I have a problem.
Thank you, Kiki.
It was my pleasure.
Are you going to come back next time?
Well, yeah. I think you've convinced me.
Cool.
Fuck yeah!
This has been a lot of fun, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.